So today we're going to do a simple reverse flush of the Navien tankless water heater in my house. And this water heater, even though it says it's tankless, it does have like a fairly sizable filter heater system where you have a lot of pipes. For a quick introduction, the system basically have your cold water that goes into this pipe here, and the hot water comes out and goes into your house or your unit. Now, what happens is, if you live in a very, has a lot of hard water areas, the hard water, as it goes in and it gets heated over time, it's going to get built up inside the pipes in this unit. And you're going to want to have this, the inside of this water tank, water heater, essentially descaled over time, but you don't necessarily have to do it too often. They recommend you do the descaling once or twice a year, so that's once every 6 months or once every 12 months. But if you don't really want to do the descaling, because if you do the descaling, you need to buy the solutions to do the descaling, and the solutions cost somewhere around 20 to sometimes even up to $30 something each time. But what's more urgent is you should do a reverse simple flush on this system without doing this descaling, because what happens is, this water heater has a filter that's built in where the cold water goes up in there. It gets filtered so that the dirt and the sand don't go into the hot water pipes. But this filter that's in here eventually gets a lot of sand and dirt built up. So you're going to want to flush all that stuff out. So the easiest way to actually do this is just to hook it up with a couple of rubber hoses on the bypass valves. And I'm going to show you how to do that. And you don't even need a pump to do this. But you need to try to flush this out, as I would say, also maybe once or twice a year. I usually do the reverse flush before the descaling, because I don't want the descaling solutions to run through all the dirt and the sand. So I flush it out first, flush out all the dirt and the sand from the filter, and then I do the descaling, okay? But like I said, you don't need to do the descaling if you just want to do the reverse flush, okay? Now, a couple of things to know on this system here. Make sure you turn this off before you do any descaling or the reverse flush. This system has, on the cold water input side, essentially this bypass valve, okay? You need to, and on the hot output side, you have another bypass valve, okay? So what happens is, you need to have both of these shut off before you do the hose hookup for the reverse flush and descaling, okay? And where you hook up the hoses is, you essentially have to remove these end caps that's on the bypass valve, or sometimes they call it the safety caps. Let me see if I can get a better shot. It's kind of not very clear. Yeah, you have to remove these end caps, and then you hook up the hoses onto one for each one. And then you can do the reverse flush. Now, when you do the reverse flush, it's actually fairly simple. Like I said, you don't need a pump. What you do is, with the hose hooked up and the two hoses put into a bucket, you can essentially use the cold water to pump the water up into the tank and then come out of the pipe here. And what that's going to do is it's going to fill the water heater up with water, and then when you turn this cold water off again, it's going to cause the water to drain out from both sides, and that will have the desired effect of essentially washing the water in the reverse direction out from this cold bypass valve side. This will essentially flush out the filter that's in this water heater. Okay, so what we need to do is set up first underneath the water heater, essentially with some rags, because you're going to have some water that will drain out. So you want to do this fairly carefully. And when you hook up the hoses, there's going to be water that drips out. You want to have maybe a bucket or some additional buckets to catch the water as it comes out, one at a time. So we're going to do that. Let me first, so to continue, I have, like I said earlier, turned off the water heater. So I'm getting ready to remove the end caps from the safety valves, the bypass valves. And the way you do it, I usually do it one at a time, but first you put some towels underneath to catch the water as it's dripping out. So then you want to put a small kind of a cloth around the end cap, and then you have a plier that you essentially clamp around the thing. I use the cloth here so that it doesn't accidentally scratch the brass. Sometimes it damages it. So then you just remove it. Okay, and when you remove it, there might be some water coming out. You can kind of see it. And there is some water dripping out. That's fine. You just get your hose ready. Now, you want to do this very carefully because it's going to come out pretty quickly. So you want to slowly do this. Now, the end cap has a rubber seal inside. You want to make sure you don't lose this, because you're going to, when you put it back on, you're going to need this rubber seal. Otherwise, this is gonna leak. Okay. Now, if you lose the seal, you might need to go get a new end cap from hardware store. Okay. So now we just put this here. Okay, so now this pipe is hooked up, and as you can see, this pipe goes all the way down into the bucket like ready. So now if it leaks, it's gonna come out that way, okay? And I usually do this one at a time because when I remove the other end cap, a lot of the water might actually drain out this way, okay? So, you know, it makes it a little bit easier to catch the water. Okay, so now let's do the other one. Okay, the other one is in a really awkward position. So loosening it, tightening it is going to be tricky. But anyway, it's done. So yeah, similarly remove this. And the bucket is ready underneath. Okay. Okay, so it's tightened down. So now both hoses are in the bucket. And the hot water side has a hose that doesn't have another connector at the end. So this is just for notice so that we know which end the water is coming out when you do this flush. Okay, So now we're gonna do the flush. And what we're gonna do is, we still keep the hot water valve closed. And what we're gonna do is just open up the cold water valve. And you're gonna hear it as the water fill up and then come out the bucket. Okay, let's do it again. You can see the water is already kind of dirty. So you want to do this very carefully. Turn on the cold water slowly because it may actually be too strong. It will spill out some of the water. I already spilled some. So anyway, you can see the water here is kind of yellow. There's a lot of crap that got flushed out. Yeah, so I did this for about 4 gallons in this 5-gallon bucket. You don't need to flush a whole lot of water, but you need to do this a couple of times or even 3 or 4 times to try to clean out the water that's to try to clean out the filter that's in the water heater. And once you see that the water coming out in the flush is pretty clean, then you're pretty much done. Okay, and then you need to remove the pipes and the hoses and put back the end caps, and that'll be it. So second flush looks a little cleaner. So third flush, a lot cleaner. Yep. So I think after this one, it's going to be done. Okay, so this is after the third bucket of flush, and we're getting ready to take the hoses off and put the end caps back on. It's exactly reverse procedure, except this time we probably don't need to worry about too much water coming out, because pretty much all the water has been drained out of the water heater, and we just need to do it and make sure your valves are still closed. Okay, so the end caps are back on, tightened properly, but you know, there's always a small chance that it could spring a leak. So I would leave all the towels underneath there just in case, for at least probably a night, just to make sure that nothing is leaking. And if something is leaking, you may need to go back and loosen the end cap and retighten a bit, but make sure you shut off the valves. So now I'm getting ready to turn all the valves back on. I probably should do the cold one first. So it's gonna fill it up and check it a little bit. Make sure there's no leak. And then I'm gonna turn on the hot valve. Feels pretty dry. Okay, so now everything is back to where it was before. Just need to turn it back on. Okay, and that's it.